At the monastery of Merkel, monks are trained since childhood to be the most agile fighters and the most faithful servants. Such is Egdirf, a young monk who spent his entire life in said monastery, abandoned since birth, his only family being his masters and his fellow monks at the monastery. Egdirf was found by Master Shenzu, the head of the monastery, and the most faithful to Merkel, on a cold desert night. Since then, Egdirf has been living in the monastery, not once stepping foot into the outside world. Shenzu was a fatherly figure to him, raising him as his own child and training him with more passion than the other monks his age. As a result, Egdirf quickly grew to become the most skilled fighter in the monastery, defeating all his classmates and even his superiors in their daily spars, quickly catching the attention of the other masters. When a monk is thought to be ready by the masters, they are sent out to undergo missions and act as the will of Merkel, and so Egdirf's time came to be, and the masters found him ready for his first mission. Egdirf was to go to a nearby village to capture a sinner, one who has defiled the will of Merkel and is to be punished for his actions. Immediately, Egdirf embarked on his mission, and for the first time since birth, he stepped foot outside of the monastery. He looked around him at the vast empty desert, and started walking down the path that led to the village. As he got closer to the village, the sounds of children laughing, women gossiping, and men rambling got louder and louder, until he finally made it, and then the sound stopped, all eyes fixated on Egdirf. The village was filled with half-elves, tabaxi, humans, and halflings of all ages. People began to whisper as they looked at him. "What now? What more could they possibly want?" a halfling woman whispered. "Have we not suffered enough?" a human man replied. Egdirf grew quite confused. What could these people possibly be talking about? The confusion quickly disappeared as he found the house described to him by the masters. He knocked on the door a few times until he heard a voice. "I'm coming. Hold on. The door slowly creaked open as a frail old halfling man with a cane appeared and looked up into the eyes of Egdirf. Yes, what can I help you with?" said the old halfling. "I am Egdirf Vitoo, a monk of the monastery of Merkel. I have been instructed by Merkel himself to bring you in for your judgment." "You're the youngest one I've seen yet. Usually the monks that come here are twice your age." The old man coughed. "Very well. Let us be on our way." As the old man slowly crossed the door, behind him a voice appeared. "Grandpa, where are you going? Will you be back?" said a young half-elf boy. "Oh yes, don't you worry. Grandpa will be right back," said the old man as he closed the door. "Poor thing. His parents passed away 3 days ago. I've taken him in since. A difficult task, seeing as I could barely afford to feed myself, let alone a child." "Perhaps if you had not angered Merkel, you would have been a more fortunate old man," stated Egdirf. "You poor young thing," replied the old man. Egdirf had disregarded the last statement as they continued their journey back to the monastery. Egdirf and the old man finally arrived at the monastery, where the monks quickly took the old halfling man in. "Wait, what will be done to him?" Egdirf questioned as he remembered the young half-elf boy awaiting his grandfather's return. "We will not do anything to him. Lord Merkel will pass judgment onto him, and after that, he will be simply on his way home. Worry not. Merkel is kind and forgiving in his judgment." I understand. A week goes by, and Egdirf grew quite curious, as he has yet to see the old man since the completion of his mission. As a result, after completing his daily training, he looked for Master Shenzu at the training hall, but he was not present. Egdirf then went to his quarters, and as he entered, he had realized that Shenzu was nowhere to be found. While in the quarters, he had noticed something at the corner of his eye. A door. An unlocked door. Egdirf recalls seeing this mysterious door before, but always locked, and for the first time that lock was missing, and the door seemed to be open. Out of curiosity, Egdirf slowly opened the door as it creaked and looked inside. He saw what appeared to be a stairwell down into the darkness, With his curiosity not sated, he entered. As Egdirf slowly made his way down the stairwell, he began to hear something. What seemed to be the rattling of chains and the cries of men. Finally, Egdirf approached the end of the stairwell and entered what now seemed to be some sort of dungeon. Egdirf could not believe his eyes. Men of all ages and races were being tortured by none other than the masters that had raised him and trained him all of his life. The cries and coughs of these men were endless as they echoed throughout the dungeon. Everything became meaningless. His vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience now deemed worthless. Is this what his vows stood for? The torture of helpless men under a god and a monastery of which he had dedicated his entire life to? Suddenly he heard nearby coughing that seemed somewhat familiar. It was the halfling man Egdirf had unwillingly sentenced to what seemed to be a lifetime of torture. Egdirf quickly approached the old man in chains, being cautious as to not be seen by the masters. Signs of torture were all over the old man's naked body. It was a miracle he had survived this long at his age. "Old man, what have they done to you?"
"Ah, it's you again," said the old man with a cough. "Tell me, how's the boy doing? Is he still waiting for me?"
"What is all of this? Who are these people?"
You naive young man. Do you not realize what your God stands for? Do you not understand the consequences of disobeying Merkel?
"But of course, Lord Merkel is a forgiving and a merciful and kind and generous—"
"Nonsense," the old man interrupted. "Nonsense, all of it. They've brainwashed you, child. Your God is Merkel, the god of death, the lord of bones. He spreads nothing but death and decay to those that disobey him. Your monastery has done nothing but torture our village, collecting sacrifices every month, and those that cannot afford to offer sacrifices end up here, being stripped of their sanity and tortured till death."
Egdirf fell to his knees as he continued to listen to the old man and began to weep. His entire life he was fed nothing but lies and was deceived by the very people he'd loved and called family.
"And that is why you brought me here. I could not afford to pay your god his sacrifice. I only had enough to feed the young half-elf boy waiting for me back at the village."
The old man slowly began to lose consciousness as his life force began to drift away. He uttered with his dying breath,
"It seems my time has come. Farewell, monk."
Egdirf's sadness quickly turned to anger as he got up and made his way out of the dungeon. He went to his room, collected his valuables, and packed up for what is looking like a long journey. Approaching the exit, he was stopped by 2 monks guarding it. He quickly pushed them aside and stormed out of the monastery into the cold desert night. Later on, the masters were made aware of Egdirf's actions of betrayal.
"I told you he was not ready,"
muttered one of the masters to Shenzo. "Perhaps. But worry not, because Lord Merkel has plans for that one." Egdirf made his way back to the village where everyone was sound asleep. He approached the old man's home and opened the door. Seeing the half-elf boy also asleep, he placed a basket full of food and gold next to him. "I hope this is enough for you to survive. I am sure the other villagers will take care of you." Egdirf then proceeded to walk into the desert, leaving behind the village, the monastery, and his life. To where? Egdirf did not know, as long as it was far away from this place he had previously called home. After months of travel, Egdirf found himself arriving on a ship to the continent of Yaria. As he stepped off the ship and onto the dock, he noticed a flyer on one of the wooden poles. Grand Tournament, 500 gold reward, Fenhall Town, 200 kilometers north. Hey guys, I'm Nature's Temper, and I'm in desperate need of a shower, but that's not what you came here for. Thank you for watching. This character is Egdirf. Strange name, maybe that means something. Please look up my friend Yusuf. I've linked him in the description. He created this character as a part of our D&D campaign, which has been going on for a while, and hopefully soon I can start writing out the actual events that have took place so far. But there are a few other characters too, to be precise, that have not been read out yet, because my friends haven't written down their lore as of yet, which is fine. We're all university students. We need to use our time, wisely, says the guy who played VR chat for like 4 hours into 3 a.m. last night. It's a really bad idea. Shouldn't do that. I have like 3 assignments due. Regardless, thank you for watching. Please check out Yusuf, and I'll see you next time.